Today we're doing with one of these thinking tools, the alpha ladder. As I keep saying, it's all about the verb. And in this case, the verb that we're going to use is everything to do with the information level thinking, the remember, acting like a kiosk. And so what we're going to do is to see how the alpha ladder is the perfect partner for when you ask people to list something or to remember something. So straight into our first little activity, where you see a person working at the desk. That's work in progress. What I'd like you to do now is tell yourself, what is your focus for today? And the focus is all to do with your practice. So I've given you an example, your learning context. You could be a school teacher or at the university or work in the corporate world or the governments. And your target group, if you're a school teacher, right, because we want to apply this, so you can see the apply level of thinking, you later will be applying this. So if you're a school teacher, you might say, my target group is year 9. My subject or learning area is economics, and my topic is the Great Depression. And can you please choose for the next 22 seconds, that's all you need, to very clearly do that. Decide on a target group, the subject or the learning area. There could be meetings, and then topic. Off you go for 30 seconds. Okay, so now with this in mind, we'll come back to this later on when we've practiced one of these tools. In this case, it'll be the alpha ladder. Now, we always go back to the framework, the thinking skills framework. It's in my book. It's in the thinking tools template as well. And if you go to my website, you can get a free copy, just download it in color, and you can make it any size you wish and laminate it. It'll last a long time. Now, we're going to the second column first, because when we are designing anything to do with thinking or learning, we've got to be clear ourselves as the presenter. What is it that you're asking people to do? Are you asking to act like an information kiosk to remember, or an aha bubble to show that they understand, or like a formula to show that they know how to apply something, or like a microscope that they could pull things to pieces and look at the component parts? Or you're asking to act like the scales of justice, to evaluate, to say this is better than that, or finally like an inventor, a musician, a poet, an artist come up, wow, with a new idea in the design. So in this case, remember, if we ask him to remember, it is at the bottom level, right? So once we've decided that, we then go to the first column, and that's where we find all our verbs. Remember, it's about the verb. And so in this case, we might choose the verb list or label, and that is why we're doing something, right? Why are we asking to do something? We want them to remember by using the word list or label. And there we go. And so now we can see that it is in that column, we've chosen it from the purple. The third thing to do is ask, what is it that we're asking people to do? So we must use the verb or the verbs in a sentence. And that could be a question or an activity. For example, list all the activities experienced at the training camp, at the recent training camp. And then my favorite word, apart from Shiraz, is how. Right, so you look at the fourth column, and that's where all these thinking tools, the templates, the graphic organizers are. And in this case, we're going to use something called the alpha ladder. Now, in that resource called the Thinking Tools Templates, each template in which you will work is preceded by an example, an explanation. And here you can see that this is really alpha from A to Z. It is a memory prompt. So if I'm asking people to list all the fruit and vegetables they eat on a regular basis, A is for apple, B is banana, yes, C is for cherry, D is for date. It's very, very simple. Now, I've already sent this to you, or you might have had to download this yourself. And I've asked you to have 2 copies of this template called the alpha ladder single column, 1 column. And the topic is going to be written there, and here it is. So if it's not already written, could you please quickly insert this the topic where I'm asking you to list all the activities that you experienced in your most recent holiday. Could you please do that right now for a few seconds? Right. Now, we should always model something. So I've modeled by saying, it could have been abseiling, and A for abseiling reminds me. B reminds me, yeah, I did some bungee jumping. I'm quite a daring fellow. I did some boating, and then we had a barbecue. So can you see, you could have more than one in each one. Now, the idea is for me to keep quiet because the best learning takes place when the facilitator or teacher is quiet, but it depends on a question, which is list all the activities you experienced in the most recent holiday. And then I give you an appropriate thinking tool, which is the alpha ladder, single column. And I'm going to say, folks, you've got a whole 37 seconds left. So, and you jump around. You don't have to go alphabetically. It is a prompt. Remember, you can put in more than one thing in any letter. Off you go for 30 seconds now. Thank you. All right, so you get the idea. It's very, very simple. Now, remember earlier on, I'd ask you to say, what is your focus? What are you aiming for? Where do you want to transfer or apply this to your practice? And you might have written Year 9 economics, and the topic could have been the Great Depression. So what I'd like you to do now is, with that topic in mind, can you go to your second piece of paper, and can you write a sentence asking them to list or recount or itemize something in whatever your context is? Can you do that now? And then I'd ask you to please put in about 10. Take about 10 letters. But from a meeting organizer's point of view, or a teacher's point of view, a lecturer's point of view, it would be very smart for you to do this before you ask your learners, your attendees. Because when you do this yourself, you've got a pretty good idea of what you want to talk about. So again, can you please write now, here's an activity, write in a sentence, list whatever, and then finish it off. And I'll give you another 30 seconds. Thank you. Okay, so I think you get the idea. Now that's a simple one. That's the alpha ladder, one column. But we can make this more engaging. We can extend it. It's not difficult by adding 2 more. So you will have another template where you have 2 columns. So you put in the details, such as the name of the fruit. So you've got your topic, the name. And then I can extend it a bit by asking my learners to go and research what vitamins are involved. What is the mineral value? So A for apple, they might come, oh, that's vitamin A, and it's got calcium, copper, and iron. And vitamin B, I beg your pardon, banana is vitamin C, and it's got calcium and potassium and so on. Now, we're not going to do this. I'm just showing this to you, that if you want to use it, so there you would put in the topic, list of fruit and vegetables that you use. But what you want is, the example is the actual fruit or the vegetable, and details you put in there, vitamins and so on. There's a third one where you could have 3 or 4 columns. And as you can see from the example here, it was the name, then the vitamin, the mineral value. And then the third column could be color or texture or shape. But you could make your own. You could actually have 4 columns if you wish. And there it is, from A to M, and then from M to Z. But I repeat, we're not going to do this. This is just instructional. So finally, I just want to remind you, why are we here? Because we have a goal. And the goal was to see how you could use this tool in your context, your learning context. And a reminder, we started with reminding ourselves, what is the general, what's the broad why, the broad why. And the broad why was then to remember. And then we go to the first column and we select a tool. In this case, remember, it was list or label. And we know that we are now focusing on the remembered skill. Then we actually say, what are we going to ask the students or the learners, the attendees to do? And you have to put this into a sentence, which is either a question or an activity. In this case, it's an activity. List all the activities experienced at the training camp. And then finally, the word how, the actual scaffold we're going to give people to help them to be their brilliant best. In this case, it is the alpha ladder. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in any of our resources, please go to my website and have a look around. Thank you.